President Hawkins, Executive Committee, Board of Directors, faculty, graduation class of 2026, family, friends, and guests, welcome. I woke up this morning and it still had not hit me. I really dedicated 4 years of my life to something. Wow. You see, going back to college when you're working full-time and your frontal lobe is developed is a little different. In 2017, I walked away from college. I was 19 years old. It wasn't a plan, it was impulsive, which if you have ADHD like me, you know this is how some of the biggest decisions of our lives get made. And before anyone worries about where this story is going, it starts here, on this stage, right on time. Even if getting here looked a lot like starting every assignment at 8 p.m. on a Sunday night, crying somewhere around 10, and hitting submit at 11:58 with 2 minutes to spare and a completely unhinged sense of relief. Nonetheless, do it last minute. Do it without the motivation. Do it with ADHD and 50 breaks and 30 moments of disassociation. But do it. After I left in 2017, I avoided going back for years, not because I didn't want it, because I was embarrassed. I had let myself down. Meanwhile, I watched my peers graduate, move forward, build things, and I was still stuck, too ashamed to get back on the road because I didn't want to admit that I had ever left it. I played small. I counted myself out before anyone else could. I sat in rooms where I was the most qualified person on the topic and stayed quiet, telling myself I needed one more credential, one more degree, one more reason before what I had to say would actually matter. That is what shame does. It doesn't just hurt. It makes you complicit in your own erasure. In 2020, I had my son. When he was 2, we found out he was autistic. And something shifted in me that I did not expect. I understood immediately that my journey through motherhood would look nothing like my peers, that I would have to think differently, advocate harder, and build a kind of stability that didn't leave room for excuses. It changed the way I approached every problem in front of me. It made me more resilient than I knew I could be. So impulsively, because that's how I operate, I went back to school. Not because the timing was right, it wasn't. I was a single mother, working full-time, learning how to navigate systems for my son that I barely understood myself, sitting in online classes after he went to bed. But here's what surprised me. When I went back, I was on fire. For the first time, I could actually see a path forward. Even while juggling more competing priorities than I could count, I wish so many times I could just focus on school. That was not how it worked for me, and I'm sure that's probably not how it worked for a lot of you either. But online education gave someone with a complicated, busy, overwhelming life a real chance to change it. And I took it because I decided that my son deserved a mother who bet on herself, and I deserve that too. I want to tell you about a book. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. It's heavily research-based and honestly a little dry, unless you're into the mental and metaphysical stuff like I am, in which case it'll change your life. Dr. Maltz once said, "A human being always acts and feels and performs in accordance with what he imagines to be true about himself and his environment. The self-image sets the boundaries of individual accomplishment. It defines what you can and cannot do. Expand the self-image, and you expand the area of the possible. Inside each of our subconscious, there is a box. When we are born into this world, that box is completely empty. But over time, parents, siblings, friends, strangers, bosses, circumstances, people begin to fill it. They drop in words, beliefs, limitations, expectations, and slowly, without realizing it, We accept the content of that box as the truth of who we are. But here's what the book taught me and what my own life confirmed. Those words, beliefs, limitations, and expectations do not belong to you. You did not choose them, and you have every right to empty that box and fill it back up yourself. I have always been self-determined. That trait has cost me things, but it also has built everything I am proud of. Because of self-determination, even when it's impulsive, even when it's messy, eventually it taught me the most important lesson I know: accountability, ownership. The understanding that how I show up, how I am remembered, and the impact I make on the lives around me, that is entirely up to me. So I emptied the box, and I filled it with words that I chose myself: bold, brave, competent, abundant, self-sufficient. When I stopped asking for permission, something remarkable happened. I stepped out of an invisible cage I had built entirely out of comparison and self-doubt. And I stepped into agency, into purpose, into a version of myself I had been qualified to be all along. I am an HR manager, and there are still moments, real moments, where my CEO will ask me a question about compensation strategy on an important contract, and a voice in my head says, "Oh my God, why is she asking me? I'm just a 29-year-old kid." And then I remember, it is an honor to be asked. It is an honor to be relied on. And I am capable. This degree did not make me competent. It made my competence visible. It didn't give me a voice. It gave me the courage to use the voice that I already had. Because here is what I know now that I did not know in 2017. You do not wait until you feel ready. You do it scared. You do it with no confidence. You trust in what you know and your ability to figure out what you don't. My son is going to watch me walk across this stage today, and what I want him to understand is that my expectations for him are just as high. Because people have different stories, different timelines, different roads to the finish line. That is not a disadvantage. That is the whole point. If your road was longer, harder, lonelier than you thought it might be, stop running from your failures. There is a road back. You are standing on it right now. Stop comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 10. Comparison is the thief of joy. Your only competition is yourself. Before I go, I want to give you something to take with you. Some new word suggestions for your box. Words you choose. Words that belong to you. Accomplished. Capable. Enough. Worthy. Favored. Loved. We did not get here in spite of our stories. We are here because of them. We all started our assignments at 8 p.m. on a Sunday. We all cried somewhere around 10, and every single one of us hit submit right on time. Thank you.